recently rewatched it. I found it boring. I understand the whole fact.
Welcome back to the 2013 edition of Oscar's Greatest Moments.
God bless. My name is Jeffrey Leibham, Chicago's noted Oscar buff and film historian.
Very good. I'm Patrick McDonald of HollywoodChicago.com and the Chicago Film Tour. Take it this spring. And here's my favorite one. Yes.
Great category.
Yes, this is something that came out of the discussion. Actually, I was looking up something for the Oscars in 1979, and I noticed that all the nominees there had a cachet, had something. They were enduring films. So I thought to myself, let's talk about the best class in the film year, the best class of films that are represented by the nominations and the eventual winner. Which is the best class of Oscar Best Picture? Is that explaining it correctly, Jeffrey?
I believe so. Absolutely explains it well.
Okay, so we're talking about the best classes, and we're going to do 4 nominees first, and then we're going to tell in our opinion, what was the best Oscar class ever. This is basically just our opinion.
It is.
And we'll start with the first nominee. We're going to go in chronological order. Jeffrey, what year is your first?
The first year that I think Oscar really had a great collection of films was 1946. 1946, the Best Picture ultimately went to a film called The Best Years of Our Lives, a World War II drama.
Yes, an excellent film.
But also nominated that year were Laurence Olivier's Henry V.
Very good film.
Capra's It's a Wonderful Life.
Classic.
The Razor's Edge.
Very good
and
film.
The Yearling.
The Yearling, again, another classic, a kid's classic.
Correct. Tearjerker and I think a great movie. I'd say of the 5 films, the weakest is probably Henry V.
Okay, I would say, I would see The Razor's Edge. My first nominee was 1939 when they put 10 pictures up there, and of course the ultimate winner, Gone with the Wind, which swept everything that year, but also the melodrama Dark Victory, Goodbye Mr. Chips, the first version of Love Affair, which was remade a couple of times, Mr. Smith Goes to Washington classic of Mice and Men, the first film version of that, excellent film version, Stagecoach, another classic, Wizard of Oz, another classic, and Wuthering Heights, another melodrama, which is very well received. So, 1939.
The second year that I think that Academy picked 5 incredible films was 1967. I'm not exactly in love with all of these films.
So your next one goes 20 years later, 25 years later.
That's correct.
Okay.
That is correct. And not really totally in love with the winner from 1967, In the Heat of the Night. I don't think the film has held up that well over time.
It's definitely dated. What were the other nominees?
The other nominees that year were Bonnie and Clyde, of course, great American classic. Dr. Dolittle, kind of a stupid, a family film.
Me, sir.
But it's a family film. So you got to remember, in the late 60s,
pull me, move along.
Got all kind of genres. The Graduate,
yes,
and Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. So I think a good class of films.
There you've got 2 films. I think Guess Who's Coming to Dinner has just lost its ability. It's a great, snapshot of the time, but I even think In the Heat of the Night's better than that movie. And Dr. Dolittle, forget it. My next class nominee, 1950. Jeffrey.
Okay, sure.
1950, we have
some good films.
All About Eve, a classic film. Born Yesterday, another classic, a great adaptation of that stage play. Father of the Bride, a very, very enjoyable picture, family picture. Sunset Boulevard, a classic.
Incredible.
And the weakest one, of course, King Solomon's Mine. Have you ever seen that?
I have seen it.
You have seen it.
The weakest film of those 5, I would have to say, would be Father of the Bride.
Yes.
I don't think it's a Best Picture nominee. Sorry, Pat.
All right, let's move on. Our next Best Picture class, the third nominee for me, is 1962. And the reason why, Jeffrey, is I think it was the perfect transition from the big showy blockbuster that Hollywood was doing at the time to a more social consciousness. And I'll tell you why. The nominees that year, the eventual winner, of course, Lawrence of Arabia, that big bloated film. The Longest Day was another nominee. The Music Man, the bright version of that musical. To Kill a Mockingbird, which is a social classic, a classic, enduring classic. And finally, Mutiny on the Bounty, which I believe is the weakest of the class. And
I would say Music Man is probably the weakest.
Wow, okay, interesting. And you're a musical fan.
I am. My third class is a little bit later than that, but same thing going on, and that's 1971. 1971, the Best Picture went to The French Connection.
Classic.
But it was up against films like A Clockwork Orange.
Classic.
Fiddler on the Roof. The Last Picture Show. And Nicholas and Alexandra. And Nicholas Alexandra, we both agree, is the weakest of the five films.
Easy there.
It's just a big kind of bloated again film, costume drama.
Yeah.
That Hollywood liked to make. And
you know, a lot of times the Best Picture nominees are the ones that get a lot of showy attention at the time, then 2 years later you don't remember it again. Fourth class, before what I believe is the best class ever, I'm going to go to 1979, the thing that started this whole thing. I was looking up the year that I believed, Norma Rae was nominated, and I found out some of my favorite films there. So we have the winner, Kramer versus Kramer, All That Jazz by the great Bob Fosse. Bob Fosse Way, his birthplace just down the street here. Apocalypse Now, the classic anti-Vietnam film. Breaking Away, one of my enduring favorites. And Norma Rae, the unusual independent film, which we talked about in the Sally Field segment.
Correct.
The weakest link there, my friend, is the winner, Kramer versus Kramer, only because I like all four of the other pictures better. So,
and I would have to say my weakest of those five is Breaking Away.
No!
And
your fourth class.
My
Jeffrey.
fourth class is 1984. Ironically enough, a year that again, a Sally Field picture, Places in the Heart, was one of the five nominated films for Best Picture. The winner in 84 was Amadeus.
Yep. Loaded.
But it was also up against The Killing Fields, A Passage to India, of course, Places in the Heart, and A Soldier's Story.
Okay, so your weak link in that
is The Killing Fields, actually, which I recently rewatched.
Okay.
Found it to be a little bit too long.
Okay.
And actually not that tight of a screenplay, and I think a little overhyped.
Go with The Soldier's Story. I think it's a good picture. It certainly is, again, a picture of social consciousness. But I just believe of those five, that's the one that just doesn't stand out for me. Now,
drum roll.
Boom! What is your favorite class?
My favorite class is 1974.
Wow! That's 74.
But 1974 Best Picture went to The Godfather Part 2.
Yes. Classic.
But it was up against Chinatown.
Amazing movie.
The Conversation.
Amazing film.
Lenny.
Amazing film.
And unfortunately, The Towering Inferno.
There's where it falls apart.
And that is a weak link.
There's where it falls apart.
In my defense,
that has the juice in it. O.J. Simpson.
It does. It does.
I don't know if he was a murderer.
Right. But at least if we're looking at genres, you've got an action, adventure, type movie, disaster movie with The Towering Inferno. You've got The Conversation, which is a brilliant...
that's a classic film.
Brilliant film that if you haven't seen it...
I'm talking about an iconic last shot.
Yes,
indeed.
The Godfather Part 2, I know you're not a Godfather fan.
But no, this is my favorite Godfather. So
my favorite is still the original.
No,
but I do think The Godfather Part 2 is a good film, a big epic. Yeah. Lenny and Chinatown, both powerful films.
And the winner is, for me, my favorite class, Jeffrey, 1975.
75.
Let us go over the classic pictures of 1975. First, the winner, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Undeniably a classic film.
Absolutely.
Dog Day Afternoon, a great anti-hero movie, very underrated, should be seen again, classic. Jaws, the granddaddy, started it all. Started the whole big picture movement and a great Spielberg movie. Nashville, Robert Altman. A classic, again, anti-establishment movie that has so many surprises in it. You can keep going back and seeing it over and over again and still get something out of it. The weak link in this, only because I've never seen it, but Barry Lyndon, Stanley Kubrick. Kubrick is in this class.
And it's not a bad film, actually.
Okay,
it's
there you go.
Good film,
there you go.
In my opinion.
But I said there is not a flaw in this list, in my opinion, and that's why I picked 1975.
I've got two flaws with that list, unfortunately. Number one, I love Robert Altman, but I don't think Nashville is a very good film or a very strong film, unfortunately.
Oh, I love that movie. Go ahead.
And the worst film in that category by far is Jaws. I recently rewatched it. I found it boring. I understand the whole fact that it became the first film that was a true blockbuster and defined that term. But I think it's actually a very, very boring film, and I hated Jaws.
Interesting. And you know, I think one of the reasons that this year really touches my heart is because it kind of defines my whole love of film. It has the blockbuster. It has the anti-hero films, which I love. You know, it has redemption films with One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Which is an anti-hero
yes,
movie.
And it has Stanley Kubrick, one of my favorite directors of all time.
And a beautiful film that you need to check out.
Yes, because it's Stanley Kubrick, to me, this is the best class.
Valid,
ever.
very valid.
Well, there we go. Our best classes. That was a great segment, Jeffrey. And
check these films out if you're not familiar with any of them. A lot of them are worth revisiting for sure. I'm glad that I did. And it's a fun category to actually do research on, Pat. And it's always a pleasure to talk.
Always a pleasure. Happy Oscar,
Happy Oscar, everyone.
Have a good one.